So good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Time is 10:03 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda to continue our fiscal year 23 budget deliberations. Do we have any changes to the agenda? None. Attending Commissioners Brooks and Filios.
No.
Excuse me, Commissioners Duncan and Filios, sorry about that. Commissioner Bill Brooks is excused. Our one and only item on the business agenda is our fiscal year 23 Treasurer's Office budget review and a potential action item. So I guess I'll turn it over to Treasurer Matheson or Chief Deputy Treasurer Jill. Which is it?
It's going to be
Who
me
is
to
it?
kick things off.
Okay.
Everyone can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What I thought I'd do is just give you a brief overview, maybe 2 minutes or less, and then open it up for questions. Our budget is not that complicated. So I think I'll start out the revenues, and our revenues as a placeholder, the significant revenues, is our interest earned on idle funds. I'm going to place 1.3 million today as a placeholder. As we get closer to August, it'll give us a little bit more clarity what might be happening with interest rates for the next fiscal year. So over the last couple of years, I've asked for your indulgence to give you the final number on interest earned on idle funds in August. Placeholder is 1.3 million. Something not included in my budget, which is going to be a surprise, hopefully a pleasant surprise, is that we've identified an additional revenue stream, and it is late penalties and interest. And what I'm going to ask Jill to do is hand out a spreadsheet and a memorandum. Back in 2016, I approached this idea where I believe that the Idaho statutes do not clarify the rightful owner of late penalties and interest. It appears to me that it's under the discretion of the tax collector, which is me. I wrote a memo to the prosecutor back in 2016, and it kind of lost its legs. I'm bringing it back for consideration. Basically what we do is we allocate the late penalties and interest that we receive to all of the taxing districts. I want to keep it all.
Oh.
And I believe that we have the statutory ambiguity that allows us to do that. Now, when I introduced this back in 2016, I didn't get a lot of support. Since that time, I have found one other county is pursuing this as well, Bonneville. If we look at this actual spreadsheet, you can see the actual amounts that we have collected and kept for the county in that far left-hand corner. In the far right-hand corner is the amount that we have not collected because we've distributed it to the other taxing districts, including the URDs. Nearly $5 million since I wrote this memo back in 2016. So I think that's an income stream we should capitalize on. I'm willing, as the tax collector and the treasurer, to take the heat that I anticipate the taxing districts will send this way. But I'm trying to get a definitive legal opinion out of our prosecuting office, expected shortly. And I also want to review this information with the clerk. So it's currently not in my budget, but I will be pushing hard, and hopefully it will be as we go through the budget process. Again, this is a brief overview, so I'm going to go through a couple other items and then I'll open it up for your questions. We have no asks in the C budget, no capital asks. Our budget, our B budget, or operating expenditures modestly increased, primarily due to postage, mailing costs, printing, things like that. We do have an ask in our A budget, personnel, and this is something that we will likely come before the board ASAP. We tried to get on the agenda last Thursday. With the increasing activity we're seeing on the phone, in person, with the increase in parcels, and our losing of our temporary personnel that we brought in each collection, we're making an FTE ask. And how we're financing this is we also are increasing our workload for solid waste which is an enterprise fund, which means we can charge them for our expenditures. So solid waste has agreed to pay half of the cost of this new FTE. The remaining half, about half of it, is going to be offset by our termination or elimination of temporary employee that came in both in the June and the December collection. So the net full year impact on the budget is somewhere between 15 and 20, I think.
21,700, I think 21,714.
$21,714. That's the overview. So we stand for questions.
Do you have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
You have a grade increase and a step increase. So I just want to, and I'll talk more about it today at the personnel meeting.
Yeah, later.
I want to kind of get it a little tighter description of why we're going to do some of these things and why we're not going to. So compression, I want a definition of compression because we use that word a lot. And so I'm not sure if your asks are going to fit in there, but I kind of wanted to know more from you what those two, the compression and the grade.
I
Want to take
think this is where we have someone at a Treasury Specialist 1 that we are proposing moving to a Treasury Specialist 2. When we created these classifications, the idea was we wanted there to be the ability to move forward within our office and not have to leave our office to
Sure.
get a
Promote.
better position. The person that we hired as a Treasury Specialist 1 started last September. She will have been here a year at the end of the year. She has now mastered the skills that are included in the Treasury Specialist 2 position description.
Okay.
I understand your question, and we're willing to continue that conversation with you. You said later today.
Well, I'm going to present it today at the budget meeting, the A budget meeting, that, we have a bunch of step increases asked for. And so I want to narrow that down to, if you're not on your step, I'm sorry. We can't get you there this year. But if it is a compression issue that you have this Treasury Specialist 1, now you're hiring this new person at a higher rate than this one, that's true compression. So we have to address those things.
Well, we're bringing someone in as a 2.
Yeah.
And as you know, we have an internal candidate. They're coming in with more knowledge than someone that we hired from the
Correct.
outside would come in with. So we're actually bringing them in at a 2, and we need them to perform at the level of a 2. The compression that we were talking about is we have someone who's currently a Treasury Specialist 2. And if we bring the 1 to a 2, they'll be paid the same. And so we wanted to bump the person who's currently a 2 up just one step to
To a
avoid
3.
that compression.
Sure, and that is what I'm talking about. That fits into what I'm considering that parameter to be. But, I got to talk to Sylvia, I got to have 2 people agree and all that to what that parameter is going to be.
And we had a brief discussion yesterday, actually, with Jennifer and Brandy as well. I think we used the term compression too loosely, and I think we'll take this up this afternoon. What we're really talking about, and I think the example that you're giving, Jill, is more to do with parity. Compression typically applies to where a subordinate is earning more than a supervisor. So we'll clarify that this afternoon. But if it's parity we're talking about, that is important because now we're getting into potential legal disparate treatment, potentially.
Yeah.
So we'll take that up.
Yeah, I don't care what we call it as long as we know exactly what it means, exactly what the thing is. And that's one of the issues that we do have to address. So, okay, and then the grade increase was that Treasury 2 position, okay? Let me make sure. Literally have notes on 3 different pieces of paper here. And then we'll probably end up removing that one position from FY23 once it's approved on June 23rd. And I think all the other things were reasonable as far as, public administrator increases and stuff like that. I didn't see anything that was glaring. And if you bring us $600,000, you could probably have anything you want. Up to 599,000. No, I'm just kidding.
So your net increase of 21,000 considers the change that you're proposing in the A budget?
Yes.
Correct. I think it was actually $21,014.
Well, that's
21.
Randy knows for sure.
It's 21,
0.7.
21,741.
Oh, 41. I
Ah.
transposed them.
Okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time preparing for this, so I'd really like some more questions, please.
When
I
do we
mean,
know
you're
that
both-
revenue source? When can we figure out if, because the board has to be a minimal, or is it only a decision you make? at this
Well,
point?
I'm taking the tact, and I would appreciate your input, is I'm going to make the decision. I would hope the board would support me, I would hope the clerk would support me, and I would hope the assessor would support me, and any other elected official. I guess the assessor doesn't need.
Prosecuting attorney would be good, too.
Prosecuting, that's what I meant to say.
That might be the first one that you want to
Yeah, that's what
support
I'm
you.
thinking.
Pardon?
That might be the first one you want
Yeah.
to support you.
I had a meeting with him yesterday, and I told him candidly that unless I'm surprised, I'm moving forward without his,
Oh, well, there's that.
because I don't think they're gonna really have anything to actually come to a conclusion.
Sure.
They're likely gonna say, well, yeah, it's ambiguous
Okay.
and should work, but I don't know if they're gonna come up with anything definitive.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm going to be a little aggressive, and I'm gonna push this forward, and it's possible that someone might convince me to do otherwise, but that's the plan.
Okay.
So ideally, you'd like some direction from us?
Not at this point, no.
Not yet?
No.
Okay.
If you have objections, I'd like to hear them, but
I
if
don't.
you don't have any objections.
No, and my senior business analyst is saying I do not have any objections either. So, no, thank you for always in your career here to find these other revenue sources. It's not the first time that you've come up with a fairly sizable chunk of money, and I appreciate that. I do have a question, though. In our asks, is everything funded the way that they're asking for it? Meaning, can we assign that half to solid waste, and then we're going to go ahead and approve the seasonal being
Eliminated.
eliminated? Thank you. I'm like, frozen's the wrong word. Eliminated.
So, right now, that FTE request is being split 50/50
Okay.
between solid waste and general government
Okay.
on the preliminary summary.
Okay.
So once we pull it out, it'll drop down off both of those.
Well, it won't technically because we have to carry it in anyway. So our pay period
It'll just
14
roll
number will
into
go
the
up.
Current, yeah,
Right.
the current personnel cost.
Yeah. But it's really a fake reduction in the
It's your
summary.
columns, essentially.
And then the elimination of that pool is flowing into the personnel asks.
Right.
So it's all being netted together. As things get approved, it just moves into different buckets.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for preparing, Joe, but I have nothing else. So,
I'm fine. Okay, then. Public comments? None? 10:16, meeting adjourned. Thank you.